You still with me? Hey, look, we've covered a lot of ground, but before we dive into the specifics of hazard control, let's first understand a fundamental concept in safety management, the hierarchy of controls. This framework guides us in choosing the most effective methods to mitigate risks from most effective at the top to least effective at the bottom. At the top of the hierarchy is elimination. Simply put, if a risk can be completely removed, there's no hazard to worry about. You've eliminated it. It's the most effective form of hazard control because it completely eradicates the risk. But elimination isn't always possible. It leads us then to substitution. That means you've replaced a hazard with something less risky. So for example, swapping out a hazardous chemical for a safer alternative, or maybe switching to newer equipment that's designed to be safer. Next up, we've got engineering controls. These controls involve physical changes to our work environment, and it reduces exposure to hazards. This could mean installing barriers or safety guards on machinery, improved use of ventilation systems, that way we can handle airborne contaminants, right? Or maybe even redesigning equipment to make it safer to use. Then we have administrative controls. These types of controls are about changing the way we work. It includes safety policies. You conduct risk assessments. You set rules for who can work in hazardous areas. And then you provide training to ensure everyone understands and follows safety procedures. Look at the bottom of the pyramid. That's where PPE, personal protective equipment, lives. This is our last line of defense, and it's used to protect workers when there are still risks present after all other control measures have been implemented. PPE is important, but it's always safer to eliminate or control the hazard before relying on PPE. Doesn't mean you don't use it, but you don't want it to be your first line of defense. With an understanding of the hierarchy of controls, you're now better equipped to discuss specific strategies for hazard prevention and control. So let's dive in. That selection should be guided by three important sources. First, you've got OSHA. OSHA offers detailed guidance and best practices for controlling a range of hazards across tasks and industries. When you align controls with OSHA standards, not only are you ensuring regulatory compliance, but you're also adopting thoroughly researched and proven workplace safety practices. Then we look at best practices from peers in our industry. You consider successful strategies that have been implemented by similar organizations. Last and certainly not least, we have to incorporate insights from our own workers. They're the ones who regularly interact with these hazards, and they can help us choose the most practical and effective controls for our workplace. By considering each of these three factors, we ensure that our control measures aren't only compliant and practical, but they also resonate with our workforce's needs and experiences. So we've selected our controls. What's the next step? Encapsulate them in a comprehensive hazard control plan. This plan serves as our roadmap for implementing the chosen safety measures. Here's how we do it. First, address hazards based on their priority from the assessment phase. That said, some simpler hazards like tripping risks or basic lighting issues might be relatively quick and easy to fix. That's the low-hanging fruit. So you can address those immediately. For all other hazards, we should really plan to put in place interim solutions while we work our way down the priority list. This dual approach allows us to manage immediate risks while working on more permanent solutions. For each hazard, we'll need to outline a specific implementation plan, detailing the steps and measures involved, whether that's installing specific engineering controls, designing and enforcing administrative controls, or purchasing and maintaining the appropriate PPE. Specific individuals should be assigned as responsible for each implementation. Now last, we need to establish clear timelines for the implementation of each control and criteria, and that way we can evaluate their effectiveness. It's super important because it allows us to track progress and adapt strategies if we fall short of our goals.